not sure that's exactly in the couple.
What? You're that in the corner there.
No. Alright, so good turn. Popcorn.
Alright.
Thank you, Yeshua.
Yeah, of course.
This is live
She was
stream.
bringing
Essentially, thousands of people could be watching.
Why stop at thousands? Just saying potentially.
I don't know.
Millions.
You don't want to make the live too big.
It's not lying, it's potentially.
Alright, so what we're going to be discussing tonight is a mimer on this week's Parsha. Parsha is Shvarim. It's a mimer that the Rebbe gave in about 50 years ago in Tafshin Chaf Hey. And it's when it was actually when he stopped saying Kaddish for his mother. So you see it's connected to that theme. So the mimer is on the pasuk Vila Hamav Lenetzach Umacha Vayalokim Dima Me'al Kol Panim. That's talking about times of Moshiach, and it says that in Yeshaya it says that death will be swallowed up forever, and Hashem will wipe away the tears from all faces. So the Rebbe explains he's actually going off on mimer that the Rebbe Marash gave on the same pasuk. That the Rebbe Marash says when is it going to happen? Bila Mavas Netzach, that death is going to be gone forever, is when Hashem takes away Ruach HaTuma. Avi Ruach HaTuma min haaretz. When He takes away evil from the world, then Mamela, and naturally also death is going to be taken away. This is what's the connection between evil and death. And when evil gets taken away, also death naturally gets taken away. So we can explain it based on what the Alter Rebbe says in the Maimon. It says that the idea of Eitz Hadas is that before there was still good and bad, but they were separate. And after Chet Eitz Hadas, they were brought together. And everything in the world is like a mixture of good and bad. So also is that a person is a mixture of good and bad. And they also have bad in them. So if a person has bad, then they're going to live forever. He explains, it's a little more technical, but he explains that if a person were to live forever, also the bad inside of them would live forever. That's a problem. So therefore, since there's bad in a person, there has to be death in the world. So he explains what's the reason why that it has to be in the Davka when Moshiach comes. It has to be only when Moshiach comes that death is going to be taken away from the world, as a result of evil completely being taken away from the world. So he contrasts it with now we're talking about the base of Mikdash, and we had a whole presentation yesterday, right, Batal? So we had a whole thing. Is in times of base of Mikdash, there was also a light that came into the world. There was also godly revelation. So what's the difference? The Rebbe explains what's the difference is that, and because of the result of the light, when there's light, then the darkness gets driven away. So what's the difference? So in times of base of Mikdash, first base of Mikdash, especially when Shlomo HaMelech was king, is that there was peace everywhere. All the goyim they recognized that the Jews were in charge, but the Rebbe explains it wasn't completely they weren't completely vocal to the Jews. Why? Because even though that, for example, Queen Sheba came all the way from her land and she came to visit Shlomo HaMelech and see him, and she was completely blown away. Her breath was taken out of her. So, but when she was in front of him, she was still a queen. She was Queen Sheba. So they weren't completely bottled. Masha'en came when Mashiach comes, the goyim are going to be completely bottled, B'Telem, and it's going to be a true revelation of Hashem's light, and that's because all the light is going to be so great that the evil is going to be completely bottled. So he says, how can we explain this? He explains it's actually parallel to an idea in Tanya. There's an idea in Tanya that the Alter Rebbe explains of the difference between a tzaddik gamor and a tzaddik. Is that one? She'ena gamor. Yeah, tzaddik gamor, a complete tzaddik, and a tzaddik she'ena gamor, a tzaddik that's not complete. So what's the difference between a tzaddik gamor and a tzaddik she'ena gamor?
Hates the bad.
Is that very good? Which one hates the bad?
The one that's the better tzaddik.
It's the bad more.
Yeah, he hates that more. Okay, interesting. So one is disgusted with the bad, like Nisanel said, is the tzaddik gomer, the complete tzaddik is completely disgusted, and the other one he doesn't have any expression of bad, but he doesn't exactly hate it. He still has a little bit of bad in him. He's a little bit there, but it doesn't ever get expressed. The question is, what's the difference? Okay, he doesn't like one really like he really feels bad about evil. Like he doesn't like the popcorn so much. Like he just wants to throw up when he sees popcorn. But the other one, like okay, he sees popcorn. It's not so bad. So Hashem with it, you know, like like this. Okay, so like what's the difference? Neither of them are going to do anything different. They're all going to be acting the same way. There's never going to be an expression. He's a tzaddik. He's completely all of his actions are perfect. So what's the difference? It's like. What is it like staying away from bad but like not completely hating it? It's like you have some moldy bread. Okay? It's like a person has moldy bread, you know, he's not gonna eat it. But like, you know, he doesn't hate it. So if he's really hungry, he might eat the bread. It happens to me a few times. You get in the kitchen, you know, like sometimes you just scrape it off a little bit. But Moshiach, if there's like filth, like disgustingness or vomit, a person's not going to go after that. That's something people hate. That's a tzaddik gomer. Like there's a story, I can't remember who it's of, but of a sage in the Talmud or in Mishnah times that he gave like a decision on a court that a person didn't like. It was about I think somebody's husband. So she went and she dressed herself up as a zona, and she went and she tried to entice this rabbi. So when she went over to him to start doing her thing, so he threw up on her. he was so disgusted. So that's the idea of tzaddik gomer, is that they're completely disgusted. So that's also the difference between what are the two periods we're talking about? Time periods we're talking about. So the difference between tzaddik gomer and tzaddik she'inu gomer. Okay, yeah. Yeah, exactly. So the times before when we had a revelation of godliness, first base of Ganash, and also in Moshiach. So what's the difference? It's like he says tzaddik gomer in the times of the future base of Ganash, in times of Moshiach, that it's going to be completely hating evil. All of the goyim are going to be completely betel. When Moshiach came, on the other hand, in the times of the base of Mikdash, the first base of Mikdash, it's still a little bit relating to them. So it didn't hate them completely, and they still existed. They weren't completely bought. So he asks a question. The Rebbe asks now, and he goes beyond the Maimon that the Rebbe Marash said. It says, if we have a rule that the Alter Rebbe lays out in Tanya, that everything that happens in times of Mashiach is based on what we do now. So when we do a mitzvah, we're going to see exactly, that's going to be our scar in Lasi Lavos. We're going to see what the mitzvah really is. But that also means that what's the level of the times of Mashiach? It's not just the tzaddik she'enu gomer. It's tzaddik gomer. It's a complete tzaddik. So all the evil is going to be gone. So if we want that revelation, what does that mean that we have to do? We have to act like tzaddik and gemurim. We have to act like complete tzaddikim. So he says, how is it possible that Mashiach is ever going to come, chas v'sholem? I mean, that he's not going to come if. How is it possible if we're not all tzaddikim and gemurim? We need that in order to get Mashiach to come. That's setting the bar pretty high. So the Rebbe explains something beautiful, which is that every time in a Jewish, every single Jew has something that they connect to. They have a time in davening, a certain part of davening, a certain type of thing that they learn in Torah, or a certain time when they're alone, or a certain mitzvah that they really feel connected to. And when they do that mitzvah, or even when it's something like in things, just in regular things in their day, and they feel connected to Hashem, they give themselves completely over to Hashem in that moment. And because everything that a Jew does in holiness is forever, that moment, since they're like tzaddik and gemurim in that moment, and every single Jew has something like this, So therefore, every single Jew is like a tzaddik gomer. And that's how we can come also to the revelation of Moshiach, which is going to be when all the evil is completely bought from the world. So he says we should come to this time when Bilu Hamamas and Natzach, that all evil in the world is taken away, and Memela, because the evil is taken away, also the bad, also the death, literally the death in the world is going to be taken away. And he says even according to his opinion that people will die when they're 100, he says that's only referring to Bnei Noach, and it's only referring to spiritual death. So we should merit the time that Mashiach comes and there's no more death and there's no more evil soon.
Amen.
Wait, Kyle had a question. Oh, you said in the beginning that so why do people die because they do bad? So this bad happens. The good is the bad is destroyed when they die, right? But the good that they did, is that also destroyed when they die? How is the bad destroyed and the good not destroyed?
How we try and
What you said, the reason that they pushed us to die because there was bad done, but their death removes as bad as they did.
not that they did, it's in them.
Removes bad inside of them, right?
They died, the person died.
They just remove bad inside of them.
He says because
they were
there's
mixing.
bad, that there's ra, there's bad
Right.
today. That in general that there's mavet. Even tzaddik gadol, God forbid, has to. You don't see him because he's mistalik or nichter, whatever. But when there's all good, when everyone converts their yetzer hara to yetzer tov, or the nefesh habamid, he totally conquers it and converts it to a yetzer tov. Then everyone's going to be doing good. There's not going to be bad. Then there's no reason for mobbing anymore.
That part was fine.
There's no reason for mobbing anymore.
I think it's an idea like in the world. He says also at the end that like even a tzaddik gomer, his body before Tchias Mason is going to be destroyed and then like rebuilt or something. Even though like now it's completely perfect, it's going to have to go away because in like the fabric of the world there's some evil like built in. So I think the idea is that has to go away. So you're saying what's the point of what happens to the good things that we do? I think those may be more spiritual. I don't know.
I think I heard this one small lines that the good is it's MS. And everything get destroyed. The bad things are checker. So those things they stop. So that as time going on, all the good things are piling up, the bad things have been getting removed. So they won't pass away. The good things are still. Perhaps that was the answer to the next guy. Thank you.
Shkoyach.
They only died because